Thank you all for coming and watching. I am Brandon. Let's continue with the 9Q series. We're just gonna play nice and solid. Goal will be to have no weak groups. This is a bit weird, because now I can approach here, and it makes this invasion point really nice for white. It's also a little too far away from this corner to where if he approaches in some way, I can just take points or back off, and he has a hard time connecting. I think I will just approach his corner instead. Okay, so he goes into my corner. It's not really Sente, because if he takes the corner, then I can just extend here. But I want to keep this weak. I'm going to respond. He kicks. Guess that's okay, he gets points. I get to extend 3 spaces. And because he played high here, again I can approach and there's some weakness here. And because this is really too far away, I don't really need to fade right away. I can just play nice and solid and later still open. The Hane is here, I can just Atari. He lives in the corner, but I take the outside. And if I go here, I don't want to Atari here. Then I capture, then he can Atari here. I capture, I live small in the corner. Then he can extend, and then I'm cut off. Or you can choose this one, where kind of weak if I do this. But again, that's a little too soon. Just going to make a base. And I'll do 2 spaces instead of 3, just to keep it a little bit stronger, so that if I do invade over here, I don't have to worry about having an invasion here with the 3 space. Okay, so he Tanukis. And I think now is probably the time to invade here, because he has this weak group and this group that can become weak. There's weakness here, or even just sliding here. A bit of an issue for him. But if I go here now, I can't necessarily surround this, so it would run out. So I don't think I want to let this get cut off. So I will just attach here. And here I can Hane. He goes here, I go here, he captures, I can Atari, and I can get out pretty easy. Or if he does this one and he blocks here, then I can Atari here, and then capture here. If he tries to save these 2 stones, I get very strong in the center, and then these are pretty weak. So he probably should have played here. I captured. And then I'm not 100% alive after I take these stones. But here it's like he does that, and then I just connect and surround these. Okay, he's gonna try and live. Just gonna block and stop him from getting out. Because of my liberty issues here, I believe he can live. If I Tanuki, he can play here. And if I Atari this stone, he goes here and he lives. If he plays here and I throw in here, he plays here, then I have to do this to get rid of his other eye. But then he can Hane here and I can't cut him off. So I need to get rid of this eye. And then it should be dead. Okay, gonna keep trying. I'm just gonna play nice and solid and not let him live. Now playing over here is pretty big because he still has this weakness here. Or he can take an open corner, or maybe even approach. He is probably behind now, so he probably needs to go for a little bit more. Then there's still some Aji here. now that this is pretty safe. Okay, he's trying to connect under. When you die like this, you normally don't want to keep adding moves. You want to just let it go, Tanuki, even though you're behind. And later on, there might be a ko, where you can use those as co-threats, or something happens in the center where there's some weakness here. But when you keep adding moves, you kind of fix all the weaknesses and you just make yourself more dead. So when you die and as soon as you realize you're dead, just either it's too big and you need to resign, or play somewhere else and then hope something happens where you're able to use those stones. Okay, so he's gonna keep trying to live. I need to throw in here. Okay, so he connects. So if he plays here, we just go here and it's dead. And if he plays here, we can throw in here and it's dead. So now we're safe, everything is pretty much done, and he lost Gote, or he lost Sente. Now we're going to play over here, which is growing this area, while also threatening to cut here. Okay, so he's going to try to put some pressure on this group. We don't want to allow him to do that. He's going to jump up and defend our group. Okay, so he's trying to grow this area down here. I would say it's getting pretty big, and it's pretty easy to invade here, and we have no weak groups. So we can just go into the corner, 3-3, and I believe this would be a ko. Can attach here. Then if he goes here, we extend, he drops, we just push up and run out. Can also do this one. Attaches here, here, he plays in the corner. Joseki is to attach first, they connect, and then you make a extension. And we can also just invade here directly, because we can connect under. But if he does something like this, we don't want to let our group become too weak, because there's still this peep and some other weaknesses here. So I want to try to avoid that. And if our goal is just to get a base, we can also just do this one, which I think we'll do that one, even though they might get a peep here, but we get a base right away. So when we respond, this side's not too weak. Now we do technically have a weak group, but when you invade, it's kind of forced. And then you also don't want to get too attached to these stones. If you need to sacrifice them, then sacrifice them. But if you try to save them all, then that's when you get into trouble. So like playing this move to try and save these two stones and then letting him Hane here would not be too good. I'm gonna Hane on the top first. So even if he captures these stones, we have a majority of our stones out safe, and then these become weak. And then he's also playing in a way that is letting us threaten to connect under. Okay, so he does that, and always want Atari here, even if you're scared of a ko. Because it's too painful to play here and then let him play here, then you respond, he goes here, and gets eye shape. Okay, so we can capture here, so we're pretty safe. Just going to Atari. And then if we run out, he has this Atari, this double Atari, so we can't allow him to do that. And if he covers here, we can still connect under, or if he does this, we can still connect under or get out. Before, if he played here, we couldn't really push here because it was a Atari. But now, I don't really want to run out here because I want to extend here to put some pressure on these stones. So I think I'm just going to connect under, and there's still cutting points here that he needs to defend. So he should go here, we connect under, then he should defend his cutting points, and then we can extend here. later. But I would call this a pretty good reduction. We made this much more solid than it was. We reduced. There's still some Aji here left over for later. And we have Sente. And then there's still this weakness up here. He has to be a little bit careful here. Okay, so now we can't connect under, but we can Atari here. Or we could push under. So if we go here and he connects, we can push once more. But then he captures, and then we didn't really get anything. So I think it's better to do this Atari, capture, reduced his corner, and now we're really strong on the outside. Still some Aji here because this group's not 100% alive. So if we get to play here and he captures, that's only one eye. It's going to invade. Here our goal is not to kill this stone, but to just keep our stones connected. So if it lives, it lives, or if it gets out, it gets out. Okay, so we're gonna cut, and if he Ataris this way, we have enough liberties where we can extend at least once. And then when he goes here, we can Atari. We don't want to let this get Atari'd. And he can't really get out this way. This way we should have enough liberties. But just to be safe, we'll play here at least once to get some eye shape and more liberties. Okay, so he goes there. So this should be safe. Go ahead and Atari here. And this stone is pretty safe. He can Atari it and push us this way and has to come back and connect. Oh, never mind. He can go here. And there's this ladder here. Or to play here. If he goes here, we could Atari. But then he goes here and then captures these stones, and they're more important. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. We'll extend here. But if that wasn't there, then this would have been the bigger move. Now that he's a little strong here, even though he doesn't have two eyes yet, he might do this. Okay. So we don't want him to connect under. And we kind of want to cut him off as well. If we go with this one, and he attaches, a little bit hard to get out. So we might have to attach here. So it makes him a little bit stronger, but we're able to jump out a little bit easier. And we could be greedy and try to do this, but there's some Aji there. So just gonna be safe and just jump out. Okay, he goes there. Again, just gonna make my shape as strong as possible. Okay, this group is safe, and I want to lean towards surrounding this group. I'm going to just surround him to make this nice and strong. And I can double Hane here because he has a double Atari. He has to come back and protect those, or I get to do this. Okay, and I don't want to let him connect to these stones, and this is pretty safe, so I'm just going to extend, separating his two groups. If your opponent has two groups, you don't want to let him connect and get strong. Then you also don't want to get cut off yourself. Again, don't let him connect. So here we can connect here, or capture here. And if he Ataris here and we respond, he has some chances of getting some eye shape, so we're going to extend here. This is the same idea as using your strength to attack instead of make points, because when you attack you make even more points. So he's trying to cut this off. If he goes here, it's Sente, and we have to play here. And while we should be okay, we're just going to make double sure that we're nice and have lots of liberties and can either capture these stones or connect out. And then we can start to see that he's trying to build something here, or at least has the potential to. So we want to notice that, because a lot of times people, they just don't even notice it until it's too late. So you always want to try and see that. Like letting him Hane here and then connecting and stuff like that would be bad. We're just going to jump here, which is reducing the center and also capturing this stone. Okay, here he's trying to get fancy. We're just going to keep his stones separated. And we need to kill these stones to make sure we're connected here. But we could also connect this way to cut off this group. And at the same time it's threatening to do this one. So we're going to go ahead and see what he does. Okay, so he connects here. So this group is pretty much connected, whether we capture these stones or these two. And the biggest areas right now is reducing this area and this area. There's also some weaknesses here that we can aim at, so I would say jumping this way is a little bit bigger. You don't want to jump too far, or else you're risking getting cut off. And see this group, it didn't end up dying, but he had to spend all these moves to make sure it lived, and then had to sacrifice stuff to get it. Then there's still some weaknesses there. Okay, so we'll aim here once, because we can threaten to cut off everything here, which would be quite big. Push once, because we can still push through. Then we'll threaten to capture this stone. And connect. Then he still has some weakness here, so he defends it. Probably would have been better to Atari here, but that should be okay. So now we could do some stuff to try and save, like we can play here and block and then save these stones, but right now these stones are small. You still want to focus on the center, and then there's also this weakness here. Going to jump out, threaten to cut this off, while reducing the center. Because I see in a lot of Q games, or even when I was a Q, I would just be taking territory and then I'd look up and all of a sudden my opponent had this huge area in the middle, and then I'm like, wow, how am I going to reduce that? So he's threatening to cut off this stone. So while we could play here, and I believe this would work, because then we can either connect on the bottom or the top. So we could play here, he goes here, and then this is a little bit too weak. So I think I'm going to just get rid of this stone and let him cut him off if he wants it. Just make sure that this is nice and alive. Because right now we're ahead, so we don't really need to take all the points and make sure we're playing the best possible moves at all times, no matter the risk. When you're ahead, you can just take points, make sure you're safe, and as long as you're still taking some points, it should be okay. Okay, so we can Atari here. He captures here, we capture. He has to save this stone, and then this gets into trouble, and we reduce this area. So we can at least Tari once. That way, when we come back and connect here to protect this cut, this is not as Sente. Without this stone, if he plays here, we can't really cut here. It doesn't work as well. But now that he has this, we have this stone here. If he connected and he plays here, we could Atari and then capture the two stones. Okay, so he does that. And still capture these or capture these. Going to extend there. And he has to be really careful here. While we just have to play nice and safe and connect. He does that. So he reduced our area a bit, but he got this group pretty weak now, and we're still pretty much alive. Can't really get rid of both our eyes there. And we also have a co here. Just extend. Okay, so we can still attach here, and we're okay. But we do have to watch our own liberties because we still have this Atari here. I think we're going to just threaten to surround him while running out and reducing the center even more. Okay, so we can just cut him off here. He can't really cut us off here, because we can either kill these stones or we can live. Okay, and we want to connect in a way that reduces his liberties as much as possible, while also working. This is pretty safe for now, because we have to worry about this. Oh, I thought he would play here. If he played here, we had to worry about the liberties here, but now it should be okay. Push through here. Because again, we want to separate this weak group, and this has now become a weak group. And we can just run out, and at the same time we're reducing the center. And we want to stay nice and connected. We don't want to try and be fancy and give him a way to cut us off. Because if he cuts us off, then there's a chance that he captures that and we just give him points. So, and it's not really about killing anything at this moment, so we don't have to be too aggressive because we're ahead. If we were behind, we'd probably want to be more aggressive and try and get rid of eye shape and surround, but when you're ahead, you don't need to do that. Go here, which threatens to surround this group. At the same time as threatening to play here and surround this group. So we'll do this, and then he needs to play here to live. Okay, we're connected here and we're connected here. If we keep pushing, we get into liberty issues. So we're going to play this move, which keeps, which we should still be connected, and is also surrounding him without reducing our own liberties. Yes, he can Atari, but I don't think he should be able to cut off these stones, which actually he might, because I didn't really notice this weakness here. But if he captures these stones and we capture all of these, it's not that big of a deal. We'll see if he notices that he kind of needs to come back up here and live. Can Atari here, and then we can Tanuki play up here. We can either connect or capture. This one, on the other hand, doesn't work quite as well because we can now capture, which makes us even stronger here. And if he does try to run out here, we just connect, and this is a self-Atari. And also if he comes back to fix, then we can just come back here and connect. Okay, so he does this one. So again, he's aiming at this push and cut off these, and we're just going to connect. Assuming he's going to be blind and try and, or do that I guess, try and capture these. I suppose we shouldn't be greedy and do this. We don't exactly have two eyes, so we'll just capture. Okay, so he comes back over here to live. So he did see that, that's good. But he can't really get into this area now, and I can come back and connect to these stones. And then there's also this weakness here, where I can threaten to cut off these stones. This is a mistake. So now he has to play here, but I can still Atari capture the 4 or these. So that was a big mistake. Now he has to be careful if he plays a move like this. I can push through and he has liberty issues. Also kind of a mistake, because kind of has to play here now and then I can cut him off. We're just going to be mean and cut him off. Because I feel like he should, if he learns from this game, he'll start to notice that he just leaves too many weaknesses behind. And if he tries to live like this, we can get rid of the eye, this move. Let's connect. So now this is dead. Then he has this weak group left. Tries to live, and we can just get rid of this eye. Okay, and he resigned. So yeah, the big things to point out is, again, just he created too many weak groups and left behind too many weaknesses. Until you get to a higher level, you can't really play without leaving weaknesses behind. But if you can look for them and try to pay attention to it and defend it, even though it looks slow, it's worth it in the end, because that one slow move at like the Q level is not going to cost you the game. Like, your opponent is going to make more mistakes, and you're also going to make more mistakes. So the more you can defend and prevent future mistakes or future bad things from happening, the better. And thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe learned something. And I'll see you again next Sunday.